So our new instruction word here is to solve this, which means that at the end of this, we're going to have something other than just a graph. It says solve by graphing. So we are going to use a graph to find some sort of a solution to something. Now, if I'm going to graph this, just like we did before, I need an x and a y axis. So let's start with that. And for this, we're going to go ahead and have our graph go 5 in every direction again, just like our other examples. So I'm going to do this right here in the middle, so I have room and it kind of all goes together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that way. And I want this to go 5 in every direction. That should give us plenty of space to show what we need to show for this. So please follow along on your graph paper right now. Go ahead and write these equations and make an x and y axis going 5 in each direction. 5 in each direction, please. Now, we still haven't talked about what we're actually doing. All we know right now is it says to solve this by graphing. So logically, we would say, okay, well, let's graph something. Clearly, we have to graph it, so we're just going to start there. When you graph a system of equations, you graph them separately, but you graph them on the same grid. So let's just look at this first equation, y equals 2x minus 4. Don't worry about the other equation, we're just going to graph this first equation. If I were going to graph this, the minus 4 is my starting point. That's my y-intercept. So let's start there. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just going to graph this first line and don't worry about the second one yet. Now again, this is something that some people get confused with. I have a whole number for my slope. Someone remind me again, raise your hand and tell me, what am I going to do with this whole number to make it useful here, Alondra? Right, put a 1 under it. So I'm actually going up 2 over 1. Now this is positive, so I'm going to go up and right. So I went up 2 over 1 to the right. Now here's something that you guys may not have been doing. I've been showing you this with the graphs we did earlier. I would like you to keep going with this. Graph as many points as you can because it's going to make this whole process very, very easy if you have a bunch of them. So I'm going to keep going until I run out of room. Up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and I've run out of room. I'm going to go ahead and connect those. Having lots of points also makes it easier to graph a straight line if you don't have a ruler or a straight edge to use, which we don't all have all the time. Okay, so far all we've done is we graphed the first line. Great. We still don't have a solution to anything. We also still have this other equation. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph this other equation as if the first line wasn't there. So just follow these directions. This one says plus 1 at the end. So start at positive 1. We have a whole number again, so we'll put it with a 1 under it again. But this time be very careful. It's negative 3x. If you misuse the negative here, it will completely change the rest of this problem. And you won't get the solution we're looking for. Negative 3 over 1 means I can go down 3, right 1. So 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. Or I could go up 3, left 1. So I want to make as many points as possible. This helps me graph a straighter line. I didn't do a very good job connecting the dots there, but I think we get the idea. And we have this graph. We've got our x-axis, we've got our y-axis, and then we have these two lines. But we were asked to find a solution. We haven't written anything down that says the answer is this. When you say find a solution, you're saying something equals this. We have a specific answer. We don't have that. We have a picture. So here's my question to you. in this picture there's something that is more important than anything else. Can someone raise your hand and give me a guess what you believe is probably the most important part of this graph? Savannah, you got a guess? Which two lines? The blue ones. Okay, the ones that we just drew. Now that's important that we point that out because there's a lot of lines that cross each other. This line crosses the y-axis, it crosses the x-axis, this one crosses the y-axis and the x-axis. But Savannah's pointing out this part right here, this point where the two lines we just made, where they cross, she said that's the most important thing. Or at least it seems like it is. And she's right. That point right there, that's our solution. But we have to show what that solution is. Remember, every point is what comma what. Who remembers this? What order do I put these letters in, Giovanni? X and then Y. X, comma, Y. Here is what you need to do, and I would like you to do this right now. I need to know the X and Y coordinates for this point. Remember, when you graph a point, you start at the origin in the center, and I want you to count how far over I went, x-axis, and then how far down did I go, y-axis. When you think you know the numbers I'm looking for, raise your hand and let me know what numbers am I going to fill in for my final answer. This point is the solution that I want. So far, 2 people have this. 3 people have this. Open for more. Teresa, what do you think? She said 1 comma negative, what'd you say? Negative 4. Negative 2, there you go. Okay, just to illustrate this, I want everyone watching to make sure we know. This point right here where the 2 lines cross, from the center of the grid I went right 1, so positive 1 on the x-axis. Down 2, so negative 2, down, y-axis. That is the solution. That is my final answer. A point, x comma y. That is what you will be finding today.